So this session, to be honest, it was not planned exactly like that 3 months ago. And I had a discussion with Catherine that we know for long, each other. And I told her, okay, I wanted to do something on cooperation. You know, my event is about banks and fintech cooperation. And I know you work with many banks. And she said, oh, Laurent, you don't read the news? We don't anymore. They don't know how to work with fintech. Oh, you changed your mind. So that was a big shift because Kabbage is not a small company, quite huge. And when you go everywhere in every conference for years and years explaining how you work with banks, I was surprised to see the difference. So I asked you, can you discuss a bit of that on stage? And she said yes. So let's see if she speaks the truth. On the opposite, I have my friend Philippe. Hard not to say we are friends also when we take a drink. And like for the last 5 years, he was making fun of me because I do an event on cooperation between fintech and banks. And it was quite the opposite, saying this. How do you want a bank cooperate with a fintech? They don't have the same blood. It's not possible. And what did I read on LinkedIn a few weeks back? We are proud to announce our partnership with whatever bank. So I have to make a big fun of him. So I invited both of them because they both changed their mind. In French, we say, seulement les idiots ne changent pas d'avis. So only idiots don't change their mind. So I will let them discuss more together. Perhaps I will react. But first, Catherine, what happened?
It's not so salacious, but when we started Kabbage, we didn't view ourselves as competing with banks. We really thought we were just launching a product that customers needed and they weren't being served by institutions at the time. So we never thought there was a conflict between us and banks because we weren't serving the same customers, and we're actually still not serving the same customers. And that's what led to this idea of a bank partnership. We actually got a call from a bank. This was ING a couple years ago, and they said, hey, we see you have this platform. We'd be interested in using it to serve small businesses. And we said, oh, that seems like it could be interesting. And it turns out we just structured it the wrong way. The incentives weren't aligned. It was really, I can get into it more later, but it was difficult to make that partnership productive because we just didn't do it right from the very beginning, and I'm happy to tell you more about that.
Same question, what happened?
So I think 3 years ago when we spoke about that here in the Paris FinTech Forum, so look, in our case, we were not at all looking to partner, so we're really focused on direct sales and on managing growth. But what happened at some point is that some banks approached us the same and said, look, we would like to do things together, we would like to partner. And then what you see coming is that with partners, they consider you are a vendor, a supplier. So from the very beginning, we try to be extremely demanding in a sense and say, look, we will not provide technology to you. We're not a vendor. If we want to do things together, we will approach your clients together. We will face them. We will be involved. Everything is co-branding. Our brand is as big as yours. Our logo is as big as yours. It's really doing things together and partnering. So we just announced, I would say, some partnership recently with BNP, with Citi, with the Silicon Valley Bank. We are still early in the process, so I cannot give very clear insights already. But the beginnings have been quite good, so fingers crossed.
So let's come back a bit to your story. You had, at the beginning, some success when you begin to work with those banks. I mean, you had many banks who were partnering in Europe. So can you elaborate a bit what was the good recipe and what didn't work really?
It also depends on how you measure success. So we were shocked by how quickly the banks wanted to move. The partnerships we had were ING and Santander and Scotiabank, very large institutions. And they got through the contracting process very quickly, and we got through implementation and launch very quickly. And that's where things started to slow down. And I think it really depends on the type of product that you're offering. We were offering a risk-based product, and so that meant that lots of the organization had to be involved. And we were constantly having this compliance conversation. And they would say, oh, well, that's a compliance issue. And we'd have to say, well, do you mean regulatory compliance or policy compliance? Those are two really important questions to ask because they can change policy. You can't change regulatory. But the issue really was more in the fact that they had to invest. They had to invest in risk. They had to invest in losses in order to build a portfolio and build a model that would be predictive. And that was just anathema to their culture because, you know, for 25 years, these banks haven't launched new products. So launching a new risk-based product was a huge challenge. And it didn't matter which bank it was the same everywhere. And when I say we structured it wrong, We had somewhat of a partnership like you described. Our logo was present and our interests were somewhat aligned, but we really should have been running the book, if you will. We should have been investing in the receivables and the marketing in order to grow that customer base and structure it more like we do in the US, because we work with banks all the time in the US, but it's more from a regulatory and infrastructure perspective. So I think it's more of a utility. And I think that's the risk that banks run if they don't make these partnerships profitable, is they're going to become utilities. That's all they're going to be, is pipes that fintechs that are innovative are going to use to deliver great services to customers.
So you just mentioned at the beginning one important point. It depends how you measure success. I mean, that's quite basic in our project. I mean, what is a KPI we want to achieve? But would you say perhaps you were too naive with the first cooperation with bank, and the objective was not perhaps exactly the same, or the success measurement was not clearly defined at the time, 5-6 years back?
It's funny, we actually, and it wasn't so long ago, I think it was 3 years ago.
3 years?
Yes, but we had these monthly minimums that we set up, but that feels very much like a vendor relationship, not like we're part of the process relationship. The problem is we never hit any of the monthly minimums over a 2-year period. So we defined success, but what we didn't define well was how we get to that. We just presumed that they would be interested in pushing into that market and investing in marketing and investing.
So there were no leverage to say, okay, what do we do if we are below?
That's correct.
Everybody just wait, and one day you just divorced.
That's right. We didn't go to marriage counseling or anything.
Communication, is the most important. So in our case, what has always been very clear, we didn't want to change anything because we were partnering with banks. So what we made very clear is our sales process, the way we deploy technology, the way we interact with the end client has to be the same with our existing model and through the partnerships. So it was very clear that partnering with the bank means we are together, we drive the process as a company, and they are involved, not the reverse. Very often they want to be in charge, they want to lead, and very often they don't really have the mindset and the culture, the right culture to be able to deploy technology the way we want. So we made it very clear that in some way they come along with us. It's not really us providing technology to them. It's a co-selling process. It's really processes that are ours and that they will embed in the system. It's not us adapting to them, because if you do so, the risk you have is that you are losing a lot of time, resources, and energy in trying to build something with a bank, and when it fails, basically your business is negatively impacted.
Yeah, at the end of the day, even if I love your company, you are still a mosquito for a bank. So how do you manage to keep that relation when you will have an issue? You have always issue in any project. So how do you manage to say, hey, we said we lead? I mean, is it really, do you have the good steering committees, people in place, leverage to manage that?
Yeah, but it's not so much, I will say, about processes. It's more about your mindset and your vision. I think the first 1 year, when we were negotiating the partnership, I think I repeated 30 times, we are not a vendor. We are the leader in the process. We do things together. We are not selling anything to you. We are selling to your clients. And we are involved and we are leading the process. So it's a matter of making sure they understand what's the purpose, and that in the end, you can be successful without them. You do not depend on them. You're not a vendor to bank. So if you're not successful with a bank, you can be successful either. So it's a matter of staying focused on what you want, and don't think that a partnership is basically the best way to success.
So that leads me to another question to both of you. 5 years ago when I built that event, I remember it was 2015, I saw an ad. I wonder if you were not in that page, where fintech will kill banks with some weapon or something. And I thought it was silly and people can work together. At this time, fintechs and banks say we are not ready. No, what you are saying is very interesting, but would you say that the world has changed, that all the financial institutions are now prepared and organized to work with kind of people like you, which are quite different from classical?
The mindset, in my opinion, definitely. If you take our case, FX, corporate FX, if you take banks, they basically all offer the same product, the same way of deploying, and they are basically competing only on one thing, which is price. So we come with a different angle, which is technology embedded in client system, automation. So what the value we bring is very different from what they bring. And what's funny is that every time we go to a client meeting, so in the case of a partnership, a client of the bank, we spend 1 hour or 2 hours with the client. We basically drive the meeting, drive the conversation. They are with us. And after the meeting, I will say, look, the discussion you have, the deepness of the discussion you have is much, much, much stronger than what we do when we just meet a client for a business meeting. So they really understood our approach is different. It's a different mindset. It's a technology mindset, not a financial mindset. So I think they have made a significant evolution compared to 3 or 4 years ago.
And Catherine, you are everywhere. Kabbage is present in many geographies, perhaps not everywhere, but many geographies. Do you have the same opinion on the way these financial institutions are trained or organized to work with you?
I do believe that from a technology perspective, they're ready. And that's what I meant by how do you define success. We got up and running very quickly, a shocking pace, frankly. So I think that they're investing in technology. It depends on what the rest of the company, what the rest of the bank has to do to support that product and whether or not they're ready for that. I'm not sure that technology mindset, that agile mindset has pervaded the entire institution at this point.
And when we speak of cooperation, we speak of course, also of competition. So do you see also fintechs and banks in some vertical beginning to really compete? Because before it was not competition, it was small figures, big figures. So do you see something happening now?
I do. In fact, I see it at our company where we're launching products that are now competing directly with banks, and we never did that before. People thought we did, but banks never served our customer base. And in fact, even if you look at something like a basic checking account, every one of our customers has a checking account with a bank. But the bank doesn't serve them the same way they serve large customers. We're serving small businesses that represent 80% of the 32 million in the US. They have fewer than 10 employees. So they're very small. Banks give them a basic checking account. And these businesses can't even deposit a check and get access to funds within 72 hours. So they go to check cashers on the weekends because they can't get their funds. So that's not really serving those customers. So yes, we're competing with them, but we're really giving them a much better product that they need. It's more useful. And the banks weren't making money off of those small business checking accounts anyway.
Same question.
I think it goes further than that. So we just had in the backstage a discussion. If you take a Europe, for example, take Adyen, they are listed, they are worth 25 billion. You probably have 3 or 4 very large European banks that are worth less than Adyen. So you have a good bunch
but you ask another question. Is this serious valuation? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm old enough to remember 2000, so...
No, but Adyen, we speak a company which is listed on public markets. So I mean, it's not a crazy valuation.
Sorry, just a question. You mean because it's listed on public market, it's a normal valuation? Do you remember 2001 or you were not born? I mean, I'm sorry, but...
You mean 2000, I was still a student.
Yeah, but me, unfortunately,
Really?
I was not anymore a student, and I can tell you, listed on the market doesn't mean that you are worth this value. So I'm sorry, but I love all this, it's not only fintech, but whatever tech, when I see some valuation, you can ask yourself some questions.
Oh, fine, but if I had to bet money on Adyen or Stripe or some of the large European banks, I know where I'll put money. Huh? So it's an open debate, I agree. But I think now it's not just about very small fintech companies competing with banks. It's some of them of a significant scale already. So I think it's really competition that will be harder and harder for banks in many cases, offering expensive products that are basically mainstream and low value. I don't think it will be challenging. I don't live in France for years, but I still have a bank account in France. I don't know exactly how I pay every month for basically nothing, with an app which is a bit old school.
And this guy is cooperating with banks, okay? So
Yeah.
that's a nice one.
I mean, cooperation means also being challenging, you know?
Okay. So when you love, you know, okay. Another question, I know that just after our event, you go in India. My understanding is that Kabbage is developing quite fast in this area. Do you think the future of your industry is more in, I don't like to call them emerging markets, they are bigger than us, but new markets like India, China, South America, where big figures are and banks are not as developed as in our geographies. Do you think this is a future for companies like you?
It's interesting in emerging markets because they tend to leapfrog technology. So, in the US, look how long it took to get a contactless card. In fact, every time I present my card in Europe, they try to tap it. I'm like, sorry, my card doesn't tap. We don't do that. So I feel like you do see...
We can present you some French people helping you on that.
Sure you can. So I think that's something that's interesting because everybody's doing everything on a mobile device in emerging markets, and so that's interesting. But there are a lot of big players with a lot of money behind them operating in those markets. markets too. If you look at, oh shoot, now I can't think of the name of it, the transportation company that's operating in Southeast Asia.
Grab.
Yeah, Grab. So anyway, because it was Grab. So they said that a couple years ago, I heard their CEO say they thought they would make more money from financial services in 5 years than from transportation. And I think that's the way things are moving. I think you're seeing this diversification of anybody who's touching.
They just ask for a bank license in Singapore with Singtel.
I think there's a lot of growth opportunities there for sure.
So for companies like yours, it's clearly a place where you are pushing.
It is, but it's hard because you're competing with companies like Grab that grew up in that environment. They grew up in that geography. They have an advantage.
And in those geographies, to come back to our question, do you try cooperation with financial institution or you go alone?
There has to be a regulatory partner, somebody who understands, who can move money, somebody who understands the regulations and can help you comply with them. I think that's it.
And still on that, is it easier or, do you see difference in the mindset of this cooperation with financial institutions in those geographies compared to US and Europe, which are quite mature markets?
I think they're more flexible in those geographies, more interested in scaling and expanding and doing something new.
Do you have this kind of experience yet or not yet?
Not so much, because we have a bit of a different setup. First, we are very much focused on Europe. We do a lot of global payments, but really our clients are mainly European. We don't necessarily need a local partner if we want to get new clients in a foreign geography. So our setup is a bit different. But I would say that I don't necessarily see a clear difference in the approach to innovation between, let's say, banks in more exotic locations compared to Europe or the US. I think they are a bit in the same dynamics, and they are all now having quite significant appetite to innovate because they have understood that they need to, even if they're struggling at it.
I met with the bank in India, and they have on the guy's business card it said "banking as a service." I've never seen that anywhere else. I thought that was really interesting and unique, and it spoke about their intentions.
Just you mentioned you had partnership with BNP, but also Cities. So in this forum this year, we have a lot of American companies, a lot of European companies, of course, and we have many debates in many rooms about the different pros and cons and the regulation. Did you see in the past of your cooperation agreement big difference in culture, mindset, or quite the same between these two big companies? Without telling which one is the best, we love everybody.
Yeah. I will say that generally, the problem when you're negotiating partnership with any bank is at the end of the process, legal and compliance. So even if the banks, so it means people in different banking divisions, capital markets, retail, SMEs, they start having an innovation mindset, or they try to, at the end you have compliance and legal, and this is the part more challenging. I will say that eventually the legal part is maybe a bit more challenging even in the US because there are, anything which is law-related is always more demanding and they're always more cautious. But I don't see a fundamental difference.
So, same for you? You had partnership with European mainly, but you know the partnership in the States. You don't see big difference?
I think they're very similar.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Thank you very much. We are late 3 minutes, so we have to stop now. Thank you very much for coming, and see you later.
Thank you.